The stars were dying, and Thesavel could do nothing but watch. She stood in the crystal tower that had been her home for 300 years, watching the sky burn orange as another city fell. The beautiful floating gardens of Velthara, built over thousands of years by her people, crashed into the ground like broken dreams. The Vorthax had come, and they were hungry. Thisvel pressed her four-fingered hand against the cool wall. Her people, the Kethrans, were peaceful. They grew crystals that sang in the wind and built cities that floated like clouds. They had never hurt anyone. But the Vorthax didn't care about that. They ate worlds, turning everything into gray dust. "Send the message again," she whispered to her aide, Dalthis. "Someone must hear us." Dalthis looked at her with sad, glowing eyes. "We have sent it to 47 different star systems. No one answers. They are all afraid." The message was simple. It played across space in every language they knew. "Help us, please. We are dying. The Vorthax are killing everyone. We have children. We have families. Please help us." Thesavel had sent the same message for 7 days. 7 days of watching her world burn. The other races in the galaxy had tried to help at first. The proud Zelthans sent their best ships. The Vorthax destroyed them in hours. The wise Corians tried to negotiate. The Vorthax didn't even answer before they attacked. One by one, every species had given up and fled, but today was different. "Today," someone answered. Far away in a system the Kethrans had never heard of, Commander Hyunwoo sat in his small patrol ship. He was young for a human, only 30 years old, but his eyes looked older. He had fought in 3 wars already. Space was dangerous, and humans had learned that the hard way. The message came through his radio like a crying child. He listened to the alien voice begging for help, and something tight formed in his chest. Hyunwoo had a daughter back on Earth. She was only 5 years old. He thought about someone hurting her, and his hands became fists. "Control, this is Patrol 7, he said into his radio. "I'm picking up a distress call. Sounds like genocide." "Copy. That, Patrol 7. Send it up the chain. Admiral Taemin will want to hear this." Admiral Taemin was a hard man. He had to be. He was in charge of protecting human space, and space was full of things that wanted to kill humans. But when he heard Thesavel's message, something broke inside him. He had grandchildren, he had a wife. He knew what it meant to love someone and want to keep them safe. The meeting room filled quickly. Generals, captains, and politicians all came to hear the aliens' cry for help. Some wanted to help right away. Others said it was too dangerous. Earth had its own problems. "We don't even know these Kethrans," said Senator Parkman, a fat man who had never been in space. "Why should our children die for aliens?" Captain So Young stood up. She was small, but everyone listened when she talked. She had saved 3 colonies from pirates and fought in the Proxima Wars. "Because it's right," she said, "and because if we let these Vorthax eat their way across the galaxy, they'll come for us next." "That's just guessing." Another senator, said Lieutenant Dong Hyun, the youngest officer in the room, raised his hand. Everyone looked at him. He was nervous, but he spoke clearly. "Sir, I've been tracking the Vorthax expansion. Look at this." He showed them a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed where the Vorthax had attacked. The pattern was clear. They were moving toward human space. New Sol Colony, where 50 million humans lived, was right in their path. The room went quiet. "How long do we have?" Admiral Taemin asked. 6 months, maybe 8, Dong Hyun said. Senator Park Min looked sick. 50 million people. "More than that," So Young said. "If they take New Sol, they'll have a base to attack Earth." "How many people live on Earth, Senator?" 12 billion, he whispered. Admiral Taemin looked around the room. These people made the decisions for humanity. Right now they had to decide if they would save strangers or wait to save themselves. "I've seen the reports," Taemin said. 43 different species tried to stop these Vorthax. They all failed. The question is, what makes us different? Commander Hyunwoo spoke for the first time. "We're from Earth, sir." Everyone looked at him. He was just a patrol commander, but he had grown up on humanity's homeworld. He knew what That meant Earth tried to kill us for millions of years, Yunwu said. Volcanoes, earthquakes, ice ages, plagues, predators. Everything on our planet wanted us dead. But we're still here. We learned to fight. We learned to survive. We learned to protect our families. He thought about his daughter again. Her laugh. Her small hands. These Kethrons are someone's children, sir. Someone's family. And if we don't help them, who will? The room was silent for a long time. Finally, Admiral Tae-min spoke. We'll help them, but we won't go as peacekeepers. We won't go as diplomats, we'll go as what we are. What are we, sir? Dong-hyun asked. Tae-min smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. We're Deathworlders, Lieutenant. We're the children of a planet that tried to kill us and failed. We're going to show these Vorthax what that means. Back on dying Velthara, Tisvel received an answer to her message. It was short and simple. Help is coming. Stay alive. Earth Fleet is coming. She didn't know what Earth Fleet meant. She didn't know what humans were. But for the first time in 7 days, she had hope. Outside her tower, another city fell to the Vorthax. But somewhere in the dark between the stars, ships were moving. Ships full of creatures that had learned to fight on the worst world in the galaxy. Ships coming to answer a cry for help with fire and fury. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never threaten the children of a death world. Major Ji-won stood on the red surface of Mars and watched her soldiers train. The temperature was -60 degrees. The air would kill any Kethran in seconds. Radiation from space poured down like invisible rain. For humans, it was just another Tuesday. Move faster, she shouted at Private Kyung-min, who was crawling under laser fire while carrying a wounded teammate. The Vorthax won't wait for you to get comfortable. Kyung-min gritted his teeth and moved faster. His suit was heavy. His air was running low and his muscles burned. But he kept moving. That's what humans did. They kept moving when everything else would give up. Ji-won smiled. Her soldiers were ready. They had trained in the deserts of Earth where the heat could cook you alive. They had trained in the frozen mountains where one mistake meant death. They had trained underwater, underground, and in the vacuum of space. They were the children of Earth, and Earth had made them strong. Ma'am, Sergeant Seung-ho called over the radio. Admiral Tae-min wants to see you. Ji-won nodded. It was time. On the battleship Indomitable, Engineer Hai-rin showed the Admiral around the weapons deck. Other species built beautiful things. Elegant things. Things that looked like art. Humans built things that worked. This is our main gun, Hai-rin said, patting a massive cannon that was longer than a city block. It can punch through a mountain. Most alien ships have pretty energy shields. This gun doesn't care about pretty. It just hits hard. Admiral Tae-min nodded. He had been fighting in space for 20 years. He knew that when things went bad, you wanted simple weapons that worked. Human weapons were ugly, but they never failed when you needed them. What about the Vorthax ships, he asked. Hai-rin grinned. She was only 25, but she was the best engineer in the fleet. They're tough, sir, really tough. Their hulls are made of some kind of living metal. Energy weapons just tickle them. But I've been reading the reports from other species who fought them. She pulled up a hologram of a Vorthax ship. It looked like a giant insect made of black metal. Everyone tried to outthink them, Hai-rin said. Fancy tactics, smart weapons, computer viruses. But look at this. She pointed to the ship's hull. See how it bends and flows? It's alive, but it's still metal. You know what kills metal? Heat and cold, Tae-min said. Exactly. Fast temperature changes. Everyone else tried to be clever. We're just going to hit them with fire and ice until they break. In the science lab, Dr. Minho was explaining Vorthax biology to a room full of soldiers. The doctor was old and gray, but his eyes were sharp. He had studied alien life for 30 years. The Vorthax are not like us, he said. They don't have individual minds. They're all connected like a hive of bees. One big brain controls millions of bodies. Captain Young-soo raised his hand. So if we kill the queen, the rest die? Maybe, Minho said. But the queen is smart. She's been alive for thousands of years. She's eaten 43 different species. She thinks she knows how to fight. What doesn't she know? Young-Soo asked. Minho smiled. She doesn't know about humans. Every species she's fought has been civilized. They had rules about war. They tried to limit damage. They wanted to look good to other species. He looked around the room. We don't care about looking good. We care about winning. He pulled up pictures of Earth's history. Humans fighting with spears. Humans fighting with swords. Humans fighting with guns. Humans fighting with nuclear fire. Every other species in the galaxy stopped their wars when they reached the stars, Minho said. They became peaceful. We brought our wars with us. We never forgot how to fight dirty. Private Dalsu, who was barely 18, looked worried. Are we the bad guys, sir? Minho's smile faded. No, son. We're not the bad guys, but we're not nice guys either. We're survivors. And sometimes survival isn't nice. On the ship's bridge, Captain Young-Soo talked to his crew. They were getting ready to jump to hyperspace. Once they left, there was no going back. I know some of you are scared, he said. I'm scared too. We're going to fight something that has never lost. But I want you to remember something. We're not going as heroes. We're not going as saviors. We're going as humans. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were dying. Families were being destroyed. Children were crying for their parents. The Vorthax think they're the strongest things in the galaxy, Young-Soo said. They've never met anything that could really fight back. They've never met anything that refused to give up. They've never met anything like us. He thought about his own family back on Earth. His wife, his son, his daughter. He thought about all the human families on New Sol Colony who were in danger. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day, he said. Storms that could destroy cities, animals that hunted us, diseases that killed millions, ice ages that lasted for thousands of years, volcanoes that blocked out the sun. But we're still here. The crew nodded. They all knew the stories. Earth was the most dangerous world anyone had ever heard of. Most aliens couldn't even visit it without dying. The Vorthax made a mistake, Young-Soo continued. They threatened the wrong species. They threatened the children of a death world. They're about to learn what that means. In the weapons bay, Sergeant Myung-ho was checking the firebombs. Humans had invented hundreds of ways to burn things. Flamethrowers, napalm, white phosphorus, plasma fire, nuclear fire. If it could burn, humans had weaponized it. Sir, asked Corporal Bo-Ra, why do we use so much fire? Most species use energy weapons. Myung-ho smiled. Because fire is simple. Fire doesn't care about shields or armor, or fancy technology. Fire just burns. And these Vorthax are made of metal and silicon. You know what happens to metal when it gets hot fast? It breaks, Bo-Ra said. That's right. It breaks. The fleet was ready. 200 ships, 50,000 humans. All of them volunteers. All of them ready to fight and die for strangers they had never met. Admiral Tae-min stood on his bridge and gave the order. All ships, jump to hyperspace. We're going to war. The stars stretched into lines of light as the human fleet disappeared into hyperspace. They were going to answer a cry for help with everything they had learned from living on the most dangerous world in the galaxy. Behind them, Earth spun quietly in space. The blue and white marble looked peaceful from a distance. But it had created something new in the galaxy. It had created humans. And now those humans were going to show the universe what happened when you threatened the innocent. The Deathworld's children were coming. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace and saw hell. 17 worlds were burning. Beautiful crystal cities that had taken the Kethrans thousands of years to build were falling from the sky like broken glass. Massive black ships shaped like hungry insects crawled across the surface of planets, eating everything they touched. Admiral Tae-min stood on the bridge of his flagship and felt sick. He had seen war before, but this was different. This was not war. This was extinction. Sir, Lieutenant Insu said quietly. We're getting signals from Kethrin evacuation ships. The Vorthax are hunting them. On the main screen, Taemin watched small silver ships running for their lives. Behind them, black Vorthak fighters moved like sharks, destroying anything that tried to escape. Even the children weren't safe. How many Vorthak ships? Taemin asked. 3,000, sir, maybe more. The human fleet had 200 ships. They were outnumbered 15-1. Any sane commander would retreat. But Admiral Taemin was from Earth, and Earth didn't make sane people. All ships, he said into his radio. Weapons free. Show them what a death world breeds. The battle started, with violence that shocked everyone watching. Human ships didn't fight like other species. They didn't dance around each other shooting pretty energy beams. They formed groups and attacked like wolves, surrounding smaller groups of enemies and destroying them completely before moving to the next target. Commander Su-jin led the first attack. Her destroyer squadron moved fast and low, using asteroids as cover. When the Vorthax tried to intercept them, they found something they had never seen before. Human ships that weren't afraid to get hurt. Ramming speed, Su-jin shouted as her damaged ship headed straight for a Vorthak dreadnought. Her crew had already evacuated to the other ships, but she stayed behind to steer. At the last second, she jumped into an escape pod as her ship smashed into the alien vessel at half the speed of light. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. On the surface of Velthara, Colonel Wu Jin led the first human ground troops into battle. The Kethrins had tried to fight the Vorthax with energy weapons and careful tactics. It hadn't worked. The aliens were too strong, too fast, and too many, but humans fought differently. Spread out, Wu Jin shouted as his soldiers jumped from their landing ships. Use the buildings for cover. Remember, they've never fought anyone from Earth before. The Vorthax came at them like a black wave. They were 3 meters tall and looked like giant spiders made of living metal. Their weapons could cut through steel. They had been killing for thousands of years. They had never fought humans. Private Dalsu saw his first Vorthak and almost ran. The thing was huge and moved too fast. But then he remembered his training. He remembered what Sergeant Myung-ho had told him. They're just big bugs, and we know how to kill bugs. Dalsu pulled out his flamethrower and painted the Vorthak with fire. The alien screamed as the heat made its metal skin crack and break. It fell down, twitching, and then stopped moving. They don't like fire, Dalsu shouted. Burn them! The word spread instantly through the human forces. Every soldier with fire weapons moved to the front. Flamethrowers, incendiary grenades, plasma burners. The humans had brought every burning weapon they could carry. The Vorthax had faced energy weapons before. They had faced bullets and bombs and missiles, but they had never faced an enemy that used fire as a primary weapon. Their metal bodies couldn't handle the rapid temperature changes. They cracked and shattered like glass. Lieutenant Haewan's squad found a group of trapped Kethrin civilians. The Crystal people were hiding in a broken building while Vorthax tried to break in. Sir? One of her soldiers asked. How do we get them out? Haewan looked at the building. There were too many Vorthax to fight through. Any normal species would try to negotiate or find another way around. Haewan was not from a normal species. Blow the building next to them, she said. Ma'am? You heard me. Blow it up. When it falls, it'll crush half the Vorthax and give us a clear path to the civilians. Her soldiers looked at each other. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It might not work. It was exactly the kind of plan that humans were famous for. The building came down like thunder, crushing dozens of Vorthax under tons of crystal and metal. In the confusion, Haewan's squad rushed in and rescued the civilians. The Kethrins couldn't believe what they had seen. You destroyed a building to save us? One of them asked. We'll destroy a planet to save you, Haewan said. That's what humans do. In space, the battle was turning. The Vorthak Queen Mind, the ancient intelligence that controlled all the alien forces, tried to understand what was happening. Her ships were losing. Her ground forces were retreating. How was this possible? She opened a communication channel to the human fleet. Unknown species. Her voice was like grinding metal. I am the Queen Mind of the Vorthak Empire. You fight. Well, but you cannot win. I offer you terms. Withdraw now and we will spare your homeworld when we reach it. She expected negotiation. Every species negotiated. It was civilized. It was smart. It was how wars ended without everyone dying. Admiral Tayman's response came back immediately. We don't negotiate with genocidal parasites. You wanted to harvest? Meet Earth's harvesters. The Queen Mind paused. In all her thousands of years, no one had ever refused to negotiate. You do not understand. We have eaten 43 species. We have consumed worlds. You are only one small fleet. We're not a fleet, Tayman said. We're the consequences of your actions. You killed children. You destroyed families. You committed genocide. Did you think no one would come for you? Captain Young-Soo was listening to the conversation from his own ship. He opened his own channel to the Queen Mind. My name is Captain Young-Soo of the Earthship Vengeance. I have a question for you. Speak, human. Have you ever heard of Earth? No. Young-Soo smiled. It's a death world, the most dangerous planet anyone has ever found. It has storms that can destroy continents, animals that hunt in packs, diseases that kill billions, ice ages, volcanoes, earthquakes, radiation, poison. Everything on Earth wants to kill everything else. What is your point, human? My point is that we survived it. For millions of years, that planet tried to kill us, and we're still here. We learned to fight. We learned to survive. We learned to kill things that were bigger and stronger and meaner than us. The Queen Mind was silent. You made a mistake. Young-Soo continued. You thought the galaxy was full of prey. But you were wrong. There's one species in this galaxy that isn't prey. There's one species that's a predator. You just met us. The battle raged on, but now the Vortex were afraid. For the first time in their long history, they were fighting something that was more dangerous than they were. They were fighting the children of a death world, and those children had come to collect a debt. In the Crystal Tower where this all began, Thisvel watched human ships dance through space like angels of death. She didn't understand how they fought. She didn't understand how they could be so violent and so protective at the same time. But she understood one thing. Help had come. The children of the worst world in the galaxy had come to save the children of one of the most beautiful worlds, and they were winning. The Vortex were running, and the humans followed them like hunting hounds. Admiral Tayman stood on his bridge watching the enemy fleet retreat toward their own space. Any civilized species would let them go. The Kethrans were safe now. The mission was complete. But humans weren't civilized. They were survivors, and survivors knew that wounded predators always came back. Sir, Captain Bora said over the communication system, the Vortex are withdrawing. Do we let them go? Tai Min thought about the burning cities he had seen. He thought about the Kethran children who would never grow up. He thought about his own granddaughter back on Earth. Negative, he said. You don't wound a plague, you destroy it completely. All ships pursue and engage. We're going to end this. The hunt began. Captain Bora was 35 years old and had been fighting in space since she was 18. She led the fast attack group, 12 ships designed to move quickly and hit hard. Her job was to find Vortex supply lines and destroy them. Target acquired, her weapons officer, Lieutenant Jun-Ho, said. Vortex supply depot, planet Morthak. Looks like their main staging area. Bora looked at the tactical display. Morthak was a fortress world. Huge guns covered the surface. Energy. Shields protected everything important. It had never been conquered. Most species would need months of planning and thousands of ships to even attempt an attack. Bora had 12 ships and a simple philosophy. When something looks impossible, you're probably not being creative enough. All ships, she said, prepare for orbital bombardment. We're going to crack this world like an egg. Ma'am, Jun-Ho said nervously, there might be civilians down there. Bora looked at him. Jun-Ho was young. He still thought war was about being nice. Son, the Vortex don't take prisoners. They don't have civilians. They have warriors and they have food. Everything on that planet is trying to kill us or help someone else kill us. Are we clear? Yes, ma'am. The attack on Morthak became famous throughout the galaxy. Human ships didn't try to fight through the defenses. Instead, They dropped rocks, big rocks. Asteroids accelerated to incredible speed and aimed at the planet's surface. When rocks moving at half the speed of light hit a planet, they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The fortress shields collapsed, the surface guns melted, the underground bunkers became ovens. On the ground, General Inho led the assault troops. He was 50 years old and had fought in 4 wars. He knew that the key to winning was not being afraid to do what the enemy couldn't imagine. "Sir," Sergeant Tae-hyun said, "the Vorthax have chemical weapons. Nerve gas that dissolves organic tissue." Inho smiled. "Good thing we brought our own chemicals." The humans deployed weapons that no civilized species used anymore. Acids that ate through metal, gases that made silicon crack, viruses designed to corrupt computer systems. They fought like their ancestors had fought on Earth, using every dirty trick that evolution had taught them. Dr. Ye-jin was part of the science team that supported the assault. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her mind was sharp as a blade. Her job was to find new ways to kill Vorthax. "The Vorthak hive mind uses quantum communication," she explained to General Inho. "They share thoughts instantly across thousands of light years. Can we jam it?" "Better," Ye-jin said. "We can poison it." She had created a virus that looked like normal Vorthak communications but carried garbage data. When the virus spread through their network, it would confuse the Queen Mind and make her soldiers stupid. "It's like giving their entire species a headache," Ye-jin said. The virus worked. Across 17 star systems, Vorthak forces suddenly couldn't coordinate. Ships crashed into each other. Ground troops walked in circles. The perfect hive mind intelligence that had conquered 43 species became a chaotic mess. But the humans weren't done. Sergeant Myung-ho led a special reconnaissance team deep into Vorthak space. Their job was to find the enemy's most important targets. What they found was worse than anything they had imagined. "Control, this is Recon Team 7, Myung-ho said into his radio. "We've found something. You need to see this." The images he sent back showed worlds covered in massive breeding facilities, billions of Vorthak warriors being created every day, enough to conquer the entire galaxy within a century. Admiral Tae-min looked at the intelligence reports and made a decision that would change galactic history. "Dr. Lee Sung," he said to his chief scientist, "I need you to prepare our most powerful weapons." Dr. Lee Sung was old and had worked on weapons for 40 years. He knew what the Admiral was asking for. "Sir, those weapons are forbidden by galactic law." "The Vorthax just forfeited any right to protection under galactic law," Tae-min said. "They're creating an army to exterminate every living thing in the galaxy. Are we going to let them do it because we're worried about following rules?" Lee Sung nodded. "What do you need, sir?" "Everything. Planet crackers, star killers, gravity bombs. If we have it, I want it ready." The weapons were terrible. They could destroy entire solar systems. Most species had banned them centuries ago because they were too dangerous to exist. But humans kept them, hidden in secret bunkers just in case. Just in case had arrived. Captain Ra-hee commanded the heavy weapon ship Ragnarok. She was 40 years old and had never married because she loved her ship more than any person. The Ragnarok carried weapons that could kill stars. "Target acquired," her weapons officer said. "Vorthak breeding world Kethamor. Population, 15 billion Vorthak warriors." Ra-hee looked at the planet on her screen. It was covered in factories and breeding pools. In 5 years, those 15 billion Vorthaks would be attacking human colonies. In 10 years, they would be attacking Earth. "Fire," she said. The planet cracker missile took 30 seconds to reach the surface. When it exploded, it sent shock waves through the planet's core. Kethamor shook itself apart like a broken toy. 15 billion future soldiers died before they could kill anyone. The galaxy watched in horror as humans systematically destroyed every Vorthak breeding world. Species that had called humans barbaric for keeping such weapons suddenly understood why they kept them. "They're not barbaric," a Korean diplomat said in an emergency council meeting. "They're practical. They knew this day would come." The Vorthak Queen Mind felt her empire dying around her. Worlds that had belonged to her for thousands of years were burning. Her perfect soldiers were confused and scared. For the first time in her ancient life, she was afraid. She tried one last time to negotiate. Humans, she broadcast on all frequencies. I surrender. I offer you tribute, territory, technology, anything you want. Just stop this destruction. The answer came from Admiral Taemin himself. We don't want your tribute. We don't want your territory. We don't want your technology. We want you gone. All of you. Forever. But genocide is wrong, the Queen Mind said. You are civilized beings. You follow laws. You're right, Taemin said. Genocide is wrong. That's why we're stopping you. Human fleet moved toward the Vorthak home system like a storm of metal and fire. Behind them, 17 star systems burned. The greatest threat the galaxy had ever known was dying, and the children of a death world were the ones killing it. On Earth, a little girl asked her grandmother why the news was showing so many explosions. In space, the monsters came for the good aliens, her grandmother said, so Daddy and his friends went to stop them. Are the monsters gone now? Her grandmother looked at the images of human ships moving through space like angels of death. They will be soon, little one, they will be soon. The Vorthak home system was dying, and the Queen Mind was desperate. Admiral Taemin watched the final battle begin from the bridge of his flagship. The Vorthaks had pulled every ship they had left to defend their homeworld. Millions of black vessels filled space like a swarm of angry insects. They had weapons that could bend reality, technology that could stop time, and numbers that blocked out the stars. Any other species would have run. Humans accelerated. All ships, Taemin said into his radio. This is it. Today we end a threat that has existed for thousands of years. Today we make sure that no child, human or alien, will ever be afraid of the Vorthaks again. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Vorthak reality benders tried to erase human ships from existence, but human engineers had designed their vessels to keep working, even when physics broke down around them. When Vorthak time stoppers froze sections of space, human crews manually steered their ships through the frozen zones and kept fighting. Captain Reihe piloted her ship through a field of gravity mines that could crush planets. Her navigator, Lieutenant Songmin, was sweating inside his helmet. Captain, we're not going to make it through this alive, he said. Rahi smiled. She had been fighting for 20 years and she knew the secret that made humans so dangerous. Son, we didn't come here to survive, we came here to win. There's a difference. Her ship took hits that would have destroyed any other vessel. But human ships were built by people who understood that sometimes you had to keep fighting even when you were dying. The Ragnarok kept shooting until her hull was mostly holes and her engines were held together by prayer. On the surface of the Vorthak homeworld, the final assault began. The Queen Mind lived in a fortress built inside a moon. It was protected by weapons that could destroy continents and shields that had never been broken. Captain Rahi led the assault team. Her ship was too damaged to fly anymore, so she took her crew and went in on foot. The fortress was full of Vorthak warriors, but they were different now. The virus that Dr. Yejin had created was still working. The perfect hive mind was broken, and the individual Vorthaks were scared and confused. Stay together, Rahi told her troops as they fought through corridors filled with enemies. These things have been bullies for thousands of years, but bullies don't know how to fight when someone hits back harder. The humans brought equipment that no civilized species would think to use in a fortress assault. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids. Industrial hammers meant for breaking up space stations. Construction explosives powerful enough to move mountains. They turned the fortress into a death trap for its own defenders. Lieutenant Xiong Min was the first to reach the Queen Mind's chamber. He was young, only 22, but he had been born on Mars and had never known a world that didn't try to kill him every day. The Queen Mind was enormous. She filled most of the chamber, a massive creature of living metal and crystal that pulsed with ancient intelligence. She had ruled an empire for millennia. She had destroyed civilizations. She had never been afraid. Now she was terrified. You cannot do this, she said, her voice like grinding stone. I am eternal. I have existed since before your species discovered fire. I am the perfect intelligence. I am order imposed on chaos. Xiong Min looked at her with young eyes that had seen too much war. You're a bully, he said, and I was raised by a species that specializes in killing bullies. The Queen Mind tried to understand. She analyzed human history in nanoseconds. She saw the wars, the violence, the endless struggle. She saw a species that had never known peace. "You are monsters," she whispered. "No," Xiongmin said. "We're survivors. And we survive by making sure that monsters like you don't get to hurt anyone else." He placed the charges around her chamber. They were human explosives designed to work even if everything else failed. The Queen Mind felt them activate and knew she was going to die. "Why?" she asked. "You do not even know the species you are saving. They are not your people. They are not your family. Why do you care?" Xiongmin thought about his little sister back on Mars. He thought about the Kethrin children he had seen in the ruins of their cities. He thought about the billions of beings across the galaxy who went to sleep at night afraid that the Vorthax would come for them. "Because someone has to," he said. "And we're the ones who can." The explosion destroyed the Queen Mind and sent shockwaves through the Vorthak network. Across the galaxy, millions of Vorthak warriors suddenly stopped moving. Without their controlling intelligence, they became nothing more than complex statues. The war was over. In the aftermath, the galaxy struggled to understand what had happened. The greatest threat in known history had been destroyed by a single species in less than a year. Species that had hidden from the Vorthax for centuries came out of their hiding places and found human ships patrolling their systems. Thisvel, the Kethrin diplomat who had started it all with her desperate plea, met with Admiral Taemin on her recovering homeworld. The crystal cities were being rebuilt and Kethrin children played in gardens that were growing again. "I do not understand," she said. "Why did you come? We offered you nothing. We promised you nothing. We are not your people." Taemin was tired. He had been fighting for months and he felt every one of his 50 years. But when he looked at the playing children, he smiled. "On our world," he said, "we have a saying. We are only as strong as the weakest person we protect. You asked for help. That made you our people. But you are feared now," Thisvel said. "Other species call you the Deathworld warriors. They say you are too dangerous to exist." Taemin nodded. "Let them be afraid. But let them also know that we only fight bullies. We only hunt predators. If they protect the innocent, they have nothing to fear from us." The human fleet began to disperse, but they didn't go home. Instead, they spread throughout the galaxy, establishing bases and patrol routes. Earth had made a decision. Humanity would be the guardian of the weak, the protector of the defenseless, the thing that monsters feared in the dark. On Earth, children learned about the Vorthak War in school. They learned about the species that had cried for help and the humans who had answered with fire and fury. They learned that being strong meant protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. One little girl raised her hand in class. "Teacher, why did we help the aliens? They weren't humans." The teacher smiled. "Because, little one, when someone is hurting and asks for help, it doesn't matter what species they are. It matters that they need help. And we can give it." Years later, when new threats appeared in the galaxy, they always faced the same problem. Somewhere among the stars, human ships were watching. Somewhere in the darkness, the children of a death world were standing guard. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Evil might be strong, but there was something stronger. There was a species that had survived the worst planet in the universe by learning to fight for each other. Now they fought for everyone, and they never, ever stopped fighting. In the crystal towers of Velthara, Kethrin children grew up hearing stories about the humans who came from a world of fire and ice to save them. They learned that sometimes the scariest things in the universe were also the most protective. They learned that when good people cry for help, heroes answer. And sometimes those heroes come from death worlds.